podcast in the history of the known universe, the Falconcast. We are at the Phoenix on Westheimer today, one of our favorite places. Vu, the owner, is wandering around. You can come up and see him. He's one of my little Asian friends. And Rogelio's here. BC and
Orale!
and just going to have a great show today. Before we get started, I just want to give one more pitch to my friends at the H Association. Saturday before the Kansas game, 46th annual H Association barbecue. Head football coach Willie Fritz, athletic director Chris Pesman, Cougar legends Otis Birdsong, Bo Burris, David Klingler, and more. My buddy Michael Collins, who's a track legend, will be there. Dwight Davis is going to speak. They've got auction items, 2 fishing trips and a hunting trip, and all the money benefits student athletes at UH. It's only $25 a ticket. So if you're going to the Kansas game, go out early. It's 11:30 to 2 at the TDECU Stadium Club, which, by the way, is pretty badass. When I would go to Roughnecks games and didn't want to hang out with the ex-wife anymore, I'd go up into the club with my friends. And, oh, my God, that place is awesome. So $25 for a ticket. All you have to do is go to uhletterwinners.com. And if you buy a ticket and tell them you know me, well, half the people will say, cool, and the other half will say, who? But anyway.
Didn't he used to be famous?
Yeah. Wasn't he somebody back in the day? Welcome in Chuck D. Welcome in Flip. Welcome up Behannon, Pelly Rat, BC, who's sitting right next to me. So he's going to put some plays up for you on college basketball. We got to bounce them off you first. But
all right.
I also want to announce that tomorrow, Jerry Bow and I will be starting our new podcast from 12 to 2. And man, it's going to be like a TV show. He's got like this incredible studio set up for us, right? Welcome in spirit. And it's going to be badass. It's going to be a lot of shit that AJ and I used to do. And I can't wait to do it, man. A lot of poker talk, a lot of stuff like that. And at some point, AJ, I got to get you on that one. But I know you do gambling out the ass right now, and it's probably boring the fuck out of you. But
no, man. It'll probably take over as your most popular episode. So I'll enjoy my last day as the preferred co-host. But once I'll tell you this, once March Madness is over, I'll be glad to hop on with you wherever you want, man. All good.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun, and we're gonna do a lot of the kind of segments that you and I used to do, and it's just gonna be, and like Fridays are gonna be one of the things we're gonna do. Just to tell everybody now, if you tune in, we're gonna do a shot tomorrow. It's gonna be every time one of whether Jerry or me calls the other one brother, you take a shot.
All right.
But in the future on Fridays, we're gonna let the listeners pick what the phrase is or whatever, something that Jerry always says or I always say, and we'll take shots then. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. Nothing's ever as awesome as working with AJ. So I need a ruling from you and the people right off the bat here.
Okay.
So I'm not really dating anybody anymore. I've got friends that I hang out with and all that stuff.
What happened to old girl?
Oh, no, she's great. It's just we're in different places, and that was...
Like she's in jail?
No.
Oh,
not that.
So not that different of a place, but okay.
Just doesn't. Right now she doesn't have room for me in her life, and to be honest, I'm not a chaser.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm not ruling out that it might work out someday, but right now, I'm kind of cool. So I took an Uber down. I had to get a new driver's license, and I had to do it in person because I had to take the fucking eye test. And guess what? I got everything right until the last line without my glasses. And the lady's like, oh, no, that's not even close. And I'm like, fine, put the glasses on, nail it. But anyway, and it's silly because you know why I need this? I know you do some crypto stuff.
Uh-huh.
For some reason now, my Coinbase account got locked and wanted an ID to prove that I'm not a bot. And I guess this is a new thing.
Oh.
So yeah, because one of the companies I'm doing business with only pays me in crypto, and yeah, I needed the money, but so I had to go down and get it. And usually, I will say this: the DMV is the worst fucking place on the planet.
It's not a good place.
No, it's like hell had a baby. and the baby's worse, right? It's like the bad child. But not only the lady who was actually doing the stuff with me couldn't have been nicer. I couldn't believe it. And not only that, she was flirting like hell, and she was pretty cute.
Oh.
It's kind of like, ooh. But no, on the ride down, so this is what I need the ruling on. There was this wonderful Uber driver, and her name was 5-Star Denise. And we best conversation about shit, like totally connected. You know, just enough to be, I mean, shit it off. And at the end, I thought, should I give her my phone number or no? Because this is your Uber driver, so it's kind of a business decision. So I just need a ruling. Should I have done it?
I'm going to say you did the right thing. Like, because she could have just been being nice to you because that's her job.
Right.
And it's almost like the, I mean, it's not quite the same as like a Hooters girl thinking that like just because she's nice to you, she actually likes you. Like she probably is 5-star. What's 5-Star Denise? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's probably 5 stars for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a really nice lady probably. So, I mean, yeah, but it might have. I think you made the right choice. You could have just made it awkward. That would have been no good. So I think you did the right thing.
Well, and it's funny because we really got into some deep shit while we were driving there because it's like a 30-minute trip. Because the only place I could get was the fucking one on Old Galveston Road because I needed it today, right?
Right.
And by the way, I found out today if I'd waited another 10 days because mine had been expired for so long, I'd have to take another driving test.
Oh boy, why's your license been expired for so long?
I didn't fucking know until I tried to rent a car a few weeks ago, and then I went down and I went to get it renewed. They said, "Oh, we need a fucking birth certificate." I'm like, "What? I'm goddamn 59 years old. I've been driving since I was 15." And so anyway, turns out I happen to have a birth certificate in my house. Like I went through one of my divorce boxes. And I knew there was something in there, and I didn't know if it was my birth certificate or my grandmother's death certificate.
Okay.
Well, turns out it was both. So I took it. I got it today. I got my temporary. Actually took a good driver's license photo because the haircut really worked for me.
Hey now.
But yeah. So I'm set. But I
shout out Doc Linville. Right?
Oh yeah. I hope he comes on today because I don't usually just do the hair, but. But no, man, I just felt like it would be unprofessional and awkward and creepy.
I think you're right.
So I didn't do it. I didn't give her my number. And, what are the odds I run into her again, right? And so, Brent, I mean, like everybody I've asked this, and I'm asking you guys on Twitch too. Give me your answer. It's like 5-2 that. Yeah, you did the right thing, 5. And 2, it's like, well, when do you ever expect to see this person again? When do you ever have the same Uber driver?
You won't, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Like there's one of those things. It's like I don't know. There's sometimes you don't want to meet someone in a certain place or in a certain manner because it could just set up the relationship for weirdness. It's like if one of your wives died and then you met your next girlfriend at her funeral, that's probably a bad look. So I think this falls into that. It's not the way to meet a woman is when she's your Uber driver. It'd be Harvey Weinstein-ish.
It just felt creepy, right? Like, even though she's talking about, wow, I hope I can meet a guy like you someday. I'm like, it just doesn't feel right,
I think you're right. I think you did the right thing, which I usually don't think.
I know. That's why I always ask you, right? You're my conscience. You'll tell me when I'm fucking up, and you'll tell me when you rarely tell me I'm doing the right thing, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Welcome in Lamont. Lamont, you're going to love the show tomorrow, brother, and we're going to have call-ins, so I expect to hear from you. And Nitsuak, welcome in, and Flea, of course. But yeah, it's like Flea says, sounds like someone who works for tips. I'd already punched in what the tip was going to be halfway through the ride. I always do that, right? just so I don't forget. Well, I mean, she would have no way of knowing that.
Yeah.
She would think, oh, yeah, I'm going to get a 40% tip. No, no, not for a fucking $30 Uber. But yeah, so, okay, I feel like I did the right. I've cut a lot of people out of my life over the last couple of weeks that have caused me problems. And, you know, I'm working on rebuilding the business and doing everything right and being a good dude, but with a smaller group around me.
Is this your way of saying this is our last episode together? Is that what you're saying?
God, no. You're not going anywhere. Like, you know, like I said, Rogelio and Brandon are here. I mean, it's like there's certain people that are not going anywhere ever. You're one of them. But, you know, I felt like I had to make some life choices, and especially after the incident from a couple weeks ago, I really felt like I needed to get away from people who didn't have my best interests at heart, and you know, and focus on my business and focus on the people that I actually trust and care about. And you know, when they have problems, I'll do anything for them, but they do anything for me. It's just there were too many one-way streets out there, man.
Yep.
And you know this, and you've always been great about not getting too connected to too many people. And I've never listened to you on that, and I'm listening to you now because the truth is, I mean, I've been getting into some fucked up shit, and you know, it's caused concussions, and then it caused the whole incident, and the concussions have made it worse. And I'm like, you know, if I don't have these people in my life, this fucking shit ain't happening. I mean, I gotta think for myself and do for myself, and that's what I'm doing. So it doesn't mean I'm not hanging out with people. Well, no, it does mean I'm not hanging out. I'll talk to them, but like, you know, I mean, I had one the other day. Say, hey, let's go do this, and I'm like, nah, man, I'm going to play poker over at the Leaf, and Rogelio's there, and I want to hang out with him. Can I come? I was like, nah, I'm just gonna be playing. That kind of stuff. So yeah, and boy, you missed my rant Monday. Oh God, I wanted to save it for today. So I'll just recap it a little bit because we got a lot more people obviously on Thursday than we do on Monday. Remember when I used to be so scared of AI?
Yeah.
Because I watched Terminator. I saw what happened. Judgment Day is coming. Well, this company I'm working with now on a freelance job, it's like I'm dealing with AI a lot. I will go on record as saying these fuckers are so dumb. They ain't taking over shit.
You know, sometimes I'll do stuff with ChatGPT here at my job, and it's like, I don't think you know what you're saying, friend. And I'll double check and be like, no, you're wrong. But I guess a lot of it is it's like it learns as it goes, and if you don't say things in the exact same way, I don't know. The terrifying thought of it is, Fred, that this is like just an infant version of it, and it grows and grows, and it becomes stronger and smarter, like a normal human would. Because, like, let's say AI is a 10-year-old right now. Like, I mean, yeah, most 10-year-olds are dummies, like, compared to grown adults.
Right.
But then, you know, you might think a 10-year-old's a dummy now, and then in 10 years, he's your boss. Because he's a real smart guy. So I'm not going to throw it all out, but I'm still a little nervous about it, but it does have its flaws, certainly.
Oh God, I'm not, because basically what AI that I've been dealing with, and I actually had a job for a bit where I was teaching AI how to write better sports stories. They didn't learn shit. I mean, they just do the same shit over and over. It's like, oh no. So they already think they're smarter than us, right? So do you know what AI is? It's the guy that used to call in our show and say, hi there, when the Cowboys trade Dak Prescott for C.J. Stroud, can they win the Super Bowl? Yeah, that's what fucking AI is.
So it's kind of like Jerome Solomon. You tried to teach him how to be a better sports writer, and
wham! Hoffman for 3, yes,
my guy.
So a couple things. Welcome in Lanzetta, and B. Hannon brings up OU Mike. God, I don't remember the last time OU Mike ever called in. Rolando asks, I got some gummies being delivered today. Any advice for a first-time user? Do not eat the whole gummy first time. take like a quarter and see what it does to you. Okay. And then, and then if 30 minutes happens and you're still not high, don't take another one. Just wait. It will affect you. I think that's the best. Yeah. And make sure they're wrapped and not from some hot chick that you thought you might bang who gave you one that was laced with goddamn fentanyl and codeine. Just make sure it's not that. Yeah.
Don't do that. It's bad for you.
Iceberg says this show needs dumb callers. No, you can be dumb twitchers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, we do have it set up where we're going to take calls on the show with Jerry, so it'll be fun. But yeah, so all right, I feel better. Thank you for backing me up on that. It just felt creepy.
Okay. Yeah, I think you made the right call. Lamont asked if I was going to keep my CHL because we have a reciprocal agreement with Nevada. It's expired, and I didn't even realize that it was going to expire, and it's expired. So I think I'm gonna have to go through the whole process again. So, but I don't carry very often here because I go into casinos so much, and you obviously can't carry a gun into a casino, and lots of gas stations are casinos. Like there's a lot of different rules here, so it's kind of a pain in the ass to carry.
Yeah, I think. Well, that's one thing I love about Texas now is you don't even need a CHL, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good question, Lamont. So yeah, Lamont, I'm telling you, tomorrow I want you to be the first caller. BS Flea, note to self: when Fredo offers to split a fentanyl edible with me, just say no.
Yeah.
No, honestly. I am only getting the ones that are prepackaged from Colorado. And that's all I'm doing right now. I'm not taking one from somebody else. I'm not taking one from somebody I don't know. It was a dumb thing I did. And I freely admit it, that I did something stupid by taking that edible from her. And I think I told you, I texted her the next day to say, whatever you do, don't take any of that. And she said, it's too late. I just got out of the emergency room.
Damn.
And then I'm like, okay, where'd you get them? And she's giving me, I don't know. And so anyway, I am never putting myself in that position again. And this is why, all my friends are in English soccer leagues, basically. There's Premier League, Champions League. My Champions League right now, a lot of relegations. No promotions.
Okay.
And so
you're limiting.
Usually I've got 20 friends in the Champions League. Right now I'd say I have about 7.
That's a good size league, man. Good size league.
Yeah. So I think we're going to keep it there. But anyway, so yeah, that's been my week, dealing with AI and of course, and the weird thing about being single again is that you kind of go through these phases where, well, you're sort of dating somebody, so you shouldn't meet somebody, and you probably blow some chances because of that, right?
Yeah.
But it's always when I feel like I'm completely free and clear that I feel the best about myself. It's like I don't really need anything right now. I got this podcast. I got poker once a week. I got a dog. I got all these businesses that are about to take off. I don't really need anything,
Living a simple life.
I got hentai porn. I'm good. Oh, Spirit, I'll never put myself in that position again for the 500th time. No, I mean, honestly, yes. I mean, I've said things like that before and then done it. But I will never take an edible from somebody I don't know again. Well, I knew her.
Yeah.
I mean, not in the once in the biblical sense. But no, I mean, I didn't want to. I don't know why I did it, because, and part of it is like my doctor thinks I was still dealing with the previous concussion because he says you make bad decisions. And I'm like, I never paid attention to these athletes, and like they're all guys that we knew and seemed like great guys, and then late in life they start doing this really stupid shit that makes no sense. And I kind of feel like that was where I was going, because I would have never taken an edible from somebody I didn't know. And you know that, man. How long have you known me? We've it's not like we've never, gone places where we do edibles.
Yeah. Well, I've never done drugs, but you have. I've seen you. You know me.
I don't know why I did to this moment. Now, it's easy to regret it when you find out it was laced, but still, it's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
But anyway, Flea wants to know, have you tracked down decent barbecue there that rivals what we have in Texas?
No, not that rivals what we have in Texas. There's a couple decent spots here, but none I would say are on that level. So, but I did just get to go down to, or I was down in San Antonio a couple of weeks ago, and I went over to Seguin to the
Oh,
Burnt Bean.
yep.
Oh, that's a good one. It's one I hadn't tried before, and it's very, very strong. So, yeah, I miss Texas barbecue. That's more than I miss Tex-Mex, and you can't get Tex-Mex out here either. But yeah, Texas barbecue it's you can't replicate it. There's a place here that tries really hard, and they even have a big mural of Tootsie on the wall from Snows, and they try to do Central Texas style barbecue, and it's very good, but it's not Texas barbecue. It's not the best, or it's not as good as the top tier Texas barbecue. So,
Yeah.
all the places in Houston, like Truth and Corkscrew and Tejas and Killins, and the list goes on. There's just so much good stuff over there. It's hard to match. There's a little place in Boulder City here called Fox's that I go to every once in a while, and I find myself maybe adding a little bit of sauce to the brisket or something like that, which is, it's not bad. It's just not, It's not Texas.
Pit Room I go to a lot because
Pit Room's great. Yeah, lots of great places.
But here's the thing, and I will say this, and again, I don't know if you agree or not. As great as Houston barbecue has gotten, still not in the realm of San Antonio and Austin and Central Texas.
Yeah, I think Central Texas is king, but I do think Houston. I mean, we talked about this when I moved to Houston. It was like, how come there's no good barbecue here? And there was that place next to Minute Maid that was not good. And in the time that I lived there, like the barbecue scene in Houston just blew up and it is very, very good. I still put Central Texas a little ahead of them, but it's not a blowout anymore, and that's saying something. So I give them credit. And now they're beating Dallas, so that's good.
Yeah, and there's this new place over by my old house, which I don't go to enough because I don't want to run into the X. But J Bar M is really good.
Okay.
But the thing is, and it's funny because when you first got here, we talked about this all the time, and our barbecue scene sucked until really Killins arrived, and then it kind of blew up. But when you got here, there wasn't a lot of craft beer places. There were 6, as I recall. There wasn't good barbecue. Seeing the barbecue scene in Houston now.
Yeah, I mean the whole food scene in Houston, and as great as Vegas is, it's just different than Houston. But Houston is I said this to somebody the other day who was like, "Oh, Houston, yuck," and I was like, "Dude, you have no idea. Like, I don't know where Houston got this reputation as like not a good place, but any place where you can get like whatever food you want and it's at a very elite level, even though my favorite Thai place did close down." But everything else is just like there's not many places like that. It's like you go to New York or LA or Vegas for those things. Houston has all of it, man. It's a great food town. It's just I think people underrate Houston dramatically.
The only thing I don't think we have here is great pizza. I mean, we have good pizza, but like I still have to drive to San Marcos to Pie Society to get a great fucking pizza, right?
Yeah. I love that Pizarro's place. I think there's some great pizza places in Houston.
I think
it's just
good.
Different kinds of pizza.
Yeah. No, I mean just none.
And I love Star Pizza. I love that damn pizza lasagna over at Star, the deep dish.
Well, and I use Pink's a lot because it's right across the street from me, and like Pink's doesn't make a bad slice. They just don't make one where I'm like, oh shit, I got to go home and masturbate.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, Behannon said Barry's Pizza was I miss Barry's. And welcoming Joey B. Lamont says the crime in Houston makes it a bleep hole. I avoid the city at all costs. I got to tell you, where I am is, in the Montrose, in my part of the Montrose is really good. But if I cross Montrose over to farther west, I have friends that say they get robbed all the time. And I'm like, that's the city. Where I am is pretty safe. Plus, I live upstairs. And if you're really going to try to get up my stairs to get to me, first I got a dog, and then you're going to have a red dot on your fucking forehead.
It's just a lot of effort going upstairs. Who wants to go upstairs to do crime?
Well, I know. It's 18 steps. I know it because
you've fallen down them?
No, I haven't. But boy, when I'm drunk, I count every fucking step.
Good call.
But no, okay, you're going to laugh at me for this, too. This is kind of funny. So I bought a cane.
Oh my.
So I can look like I'm broken down old man.
Oh, just look like it, not actually be it, right?
Well, I'm getting there. But it's not really a cane. It's one of those fucking cane swords.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I mean, total putz move, right? But I'm just like, you know what? When I'm walking home from PJ's at night, there are some elements that come down there. I had an incident a couple weeks ago where they're just like, two guys are yelling at me to give them my wallet. And I'm like, what? You want the fucking $0 and the goddamn credit cards that are maxed? It's all yours, bitch. But,
payments due on the 13th.
But yeah, so I'm like, I got this, and then the same thing kind of happened a couple weeks after I bought it. And it's like, I'm just an old man. You don't want to bother an old man. So we're going to beat your ass, old man. And then I'm like, behold, Excalibur, the sword of power.
Well, just remember that swords don't work against guns. Like, that's always...
Well, I know. They didn't have guns. They're fucking homeless guys, man.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, if I have enough time to get to my place, I'll have them outgunned. I'm not worried about that. But anyway, we need to get some sports at some point. Hey, all right, so Brandon has some picks here.
Okay.
And he wants you to judge them, college basketball picks.
Are these for today?
I think they're for today. I don't know.
Okay.
Because it's not teams I would play. Stetson -6.
Kind of chalky. I don't disagree with it. I will say that, so the reason why Stetson is now the top seed in that tournament is because Jacksonville knocked off the 1 seed.
Right.
And Jacksonville has a ton of talent. They've been kind of like the biggest underperformer in that conference the whole year. So I worry a little that they're kind of figuring things out right now, and it's on the road, which, and it's at Stetson, which it makes me a little cautious to play Jacksonville, but I do lean to them. So I'm not on his side for this one.
Okay. He also likes Colgate and Holy Cross over 142.5.
That's probably a fair bet. Conference tournaments, you always got to be careful. You got to remember this is, but this is on a home floor, so it's not a neutral site. So typically, obviously you're counting on Colgate to get you a lion's share of the points. But they don't play as fast as they have the last couple of years. They're not as offensively efficient as they have been the last couple of years. And I always worry about playing overs in the first rounds of tournaments because teams realize, especially in what's going to be a blowout. So, good example, I had Belmont today in the Missouri Valley. They were playing against Valparaiso, and they were 13.5-point favorites. They won by 1 million. But basically the entire second half, they played their second team of guys. They played all bench guys because they knew we got another game to play. So if you're looking at games that are going to be blowouts, be wary of betting overs because the team that's doing the blowing out probably has a good reason to want to sit their guys and not go full force for the full 40 minutes.
All right, one more. North Alabama, Austin P over 147.
I think that's probably my favorite one of his bets. Okay. Austin P is just an over machine. Their offense is legit. Their defense is dreadful. So yeah, I like that quite a bit.
All right, I have one play I'm going to give to the people, which I texted to our hockey group, but Brandon actually texted it. LA Kings -1.5 goals plus 135 tonight. Ottawa, tough travel. Usually, we do unders and overs, but I think the Kings win this game. I think they win it easily. They're playing great hockey right now. So plus 135, man. We got to take it.
Okay, I made a hockey bet last night for today's slate. I want you to tell me if you think I'm off. I played the Nashville Predators minus 156 hosting Buffalo. Buffalo on a back-to-back, and I looked, and Nashville's won like 9 of their last 10. It seemed like a short number, minus 156 on the home team when Buffalo's playing second time in 2 nights. What do you think?
I love it because here's the thing. When Buffalo plays Toronto, it's their Super Bowl, right? They throw everything at it, and they usually beat Toronto, let's be honest. And Brandon was asking me, what do you think about the over in that game? I'm like, I hate it because I think Buffalo's going to play tight, but they're going to try to win because this is their biggest game. On a back-to-back after a game like that, which is a rivalry game for them, I love that bet.
All right.
I really do. And in fact, I might even look at, a small bet on whatever the puck line is. Yeah. I mean, I think the Preds will kill them. This is not a good spot for Buffalo.
So it's looking like you can get around plus 160-ish on the puck line.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Text that out to the group because I'm going to play that.
Okay.
Not big, just small play, but I think that's a great play. Good job, man.
Look at me. I'm a pro.
Look at you. You're all grown up as a hockey guy. Like I've learned all this basketball from you, and I'm doing pretty well with college basketball now. But you know what? What's funny is I just stick to the Big 12. I don't really mess with anything else because I feel like I have the Big 12 nailed, and it's a lot of stuff you and I have been talking about for months. But I am just killing it.
I am up currently 80 units in college basketball this season. So
I can see that.
Yeah, things are going well. Things are going well for your boy.
Fleece says, picturing Fred playing the old white Zorro, armed with the cane, attacking the scum of Montrose. That mental image cracks me up. Yeah, it's that, and it's I don't know if I want to go there. It's just being a single guy with a gorgeous husky in Montrose. You need that sword to keep other people away from you. I'll just say that. Oh God. But yeah, let's a little college basketball stuff I wanted to ask you, and we've talked a lot about where, and I definitely need to save time for us in the NFL. So, but the thing that, and this isn't really a betting question, it's just we have some great games on Saturday, right? Duke, North Carolina again, Kansas, Houston again.
Yep.
As a fan, wouldn't we rather see these in January because we're about to see them again in the tournaments? It just kind of feels almost anticlimactic to me.
I don't disagree, but I mean, let's face it. There's a lot of people who didn't think that Houston was going to be as good as they are.
Fair.
And also for television purposes, I kind of like the idea of, because if you'd said, is there any chance that Houston plays Kansas for the Big 12 regular season title on the last day of the season? And I would have said the answer is yes. Like, you want to get that on a big TV spot, right?
Right.
So I understand why they wanted to do it. Hype up as much as possible for the tournament. But yeah, to me, I'm always a fan of spreading it out.
Right.
But I mean, the Big 12 is so good. Like, at least one of your 2 games every week are usually a pretty damn good game. So,
well, I mean, it's like we have Texas Baylor. We have, there's so many good games. And I really love watching Big 12 basketball. And one of the things we've talked about all along is the advantage the home teams always seem to have. And, it's not just that these are tough environments to go play. The home teams always get the foul calls. I mean, and I wonder how that's going to translate for these teams when they get to the tournament.
That's always the question, and if it matters for Houston maybe more than anybody in the country, because if Houston gets officiated the way that they get officiated at home, they're in really good shape. If there's heavy whistles, bad news for the Cougs. That said, normally, like you just assume, at least I always assume when I'm handicapping, that when you're in these tournament settings, the referees generally want to swallow the whistles. They want to let basketball happen. Right. And I think that's good news for Houston, which is part of why, I think they are a rightful favorite to be either win the championship or be a Final Four team. So as long as they get a fair whistle, like somewhere in between what they get at home and on the road,
right,
I think they're in good shape. If they get a road whistle, they're in trouble, for sure.
So can I throw out a scenario that I actually would like to see?
Okay.
For UH, I'd like them to go out in the first round
of the conference tournament.
Yeah, because I mean they Shed's beat up right now. Roberts is playing with one hand. They've already lost Tugler. They're really thin right now, and I think a week off would do them a world of good before the tournament. So tell me why that's stupid.
It's not stupid. Because if the goal is to win a national championship, it's actually smart, because I think Houston is probably locked into a 1 seed anyway.
Right. No matter what happens, even if they lose to Kansas Saturday, I think they're a 1 seed.
Yeah, but the question is, like, for UH, first year in the Big 12, what a statement it would be if they can win this conference in their first season. And because it doesn't look like, I mean, I guess it's still possible that they could get an outright regular season title. It seems unlikely.
If they beat Kansas, they win it.
Is it? I thought if they beat Kansas,
they're a game ahead.
Oh, okay.
The worst they can do is share the title with Iowa State.
Okay.
Who had the softest schedule in the world coming home.
Yeah, so they at least will have a share then of the Big 12 title, a regular season title. But yeah, for these guys, like for the boosters and stuff like that, like going up a level and then winning the toughest conference in basketball your first year in it, that's the kind of stuff that they'll put on those flyers to sell season tickets next year and get everybody buzzing. But I think from a competitive standpoint, yeah, you're right. That's the best way to go. Like the idea that they've won 8 games in a row already, it's like, dude, you're good. Like, let's just relax a little bit. Although I'd rather see them play hard and beat Kansas than see them go deep into a tournament.
No, and that's kind of where I am with it. But so for them to win outright, all they have to do is beat Kansas, or Iowa State has to lose at Kansas State, which is also one of those places that is not easy to play. So otherwise, they split the title with Iowa State. So that would be really cool in their first year in the Big 12. Either way, yeah, I'd like an outright title, but even splitting it would be pretty badass.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so Purdue went and won at Illinois, and what's so funny, and this drives me nuts. Like, I watch ACC Network, it's like, oh, the ACC is the best conference. Like, no, you're not.
No.
ESPN is like, oh, it's all about UConn and the Big East. And then I was watching Big Ten networks. Oh, well, look at what all Purdue's done. This is so much better than anyone else in the country. Am I wrong? I just don't see I see the Big Ten as being, there's some softies in the Big Ten. Big 12, you've got West Virginia, unless you got to go to West Virginia.
Yeah.
UCF. Well, that's about it.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Yeah, okay. Oklahoma State's a donkey. But boy, there's just not a lot of places you go where you're playing donkeys.
No, you're not. It's. I think it's the toughest conference. The idea that like Kansas State and Cincinnati are like borderline tournament teams, like that tells you to me the depth of the conference. I think that Big 12, and then you go. To me, it's Big East and Big 10 are right there in the next tier.
Right.
SEC is pretty close to that. I think there's a pretty big drop off until the ACC, and then like the Mountain West and Pac-12 are kind of that next zone. But yeah, I think there's no question to me the Big 12 is the best conference. So top to bottom. Like I love Big East basketball. I've always loved Big East basketball. And really for them, you can go down to like not at 9 of the 11 teams in that conference are like, to me, tournament caliber teams. The bottom 2 are just so dreadful in Georgetown and DePaul that they're basically free squares. But I still think day in, day out, top to bottom, year in, year out, the Big 12 is the best right now. It's almost like, remember the ACC? Like I say, you remember when I was a kid, but like in the 90s, the ACC was a runaway best conference because they had North Carolina, they had Duke, they had Wake Forest, they North Carolina State was strong. Everybody was in the ACC, but that's not how it is anymore. The Big 12 is the king when it comes to hoops.
Yeah, and I think though that doesn't mean that. I mean, I still don't know what to make of Purdue because I know they've got the best player. They also have the worst tournament coach outside of Rick Barnes.
Yep.
And
God, Tennessee's very good too.
They are, but you know what? You know what they're doing? Both of these teams
I
are
know
in again, and I'm going to put them deep in the tournament, and I'm going to get burned.
I know. I feel it happening with Rick Barnes. I'm like, oh, what? He keeps doing this. Why am I falling for this again? But I'm like, this one's different. Look how good their offense is. This is different. And I'm sure I'll be disappointed, but man, Rick Barnes, what a job he's done there, man, to win that conference again and to be as good as he's been. It's wildly impressive to me. I saw somebody tweet out that remember when Texas like unceremoniously gave Rick Barnes the boot and he got hired like 2 days later by Tennessee? Yeah, obviously he did, because it was a stupid move by Texas, who still hasn't been able to find a basketball coach. Even though
they don't have one now.
God, no. They got Shaka Smart at Marquette, running one of the best programs in the country. They hired Chris Beard. They thought that was the home run. We know where that got them. So it's just a mess what Texas has been. And it's all because, getting to a Final Four and that's not enough. Like, you got to realize what you are sometimes. And Texas probably isn't the kind of school that's going to win national championships in basketball. They're just not. So, when you get to a Final Four, it's like, awesome, let's celebrate this, not go, I can't believe we didn't make it to the Final Four the next year. It's just the heads got too big.
They've done it one time. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, look, Texas is always going to be a football school. They're never quite going to be Ohio State, who can be both, or Michigan, who can be both. It's just, I mean, the reality is there's just not a lot of interest in Texas basketball. And, I mean, my God, you have Kevin Durant there. And, I mean, there's so many great players. LaMarcus Aldridge, who've been through Texas, and TJ Ford was probably the best college player of all of them, even more than Durant. And it never resonated there, And, I mean, it resonated with you guys like you and me who love college basketball.
Yeah,
but it didn't resonate with Texas fan, and they got this great new arena. Man.
I think that's going to help them, because playing in the Irwin Center was like a death sentence. It was. I mean, look at Houston. Look at their home environment now. Like how awesome is it to like? I mean, they're over capacity every game. It's an event. It could never be an event at the Irwin Center. And now at this new arena, like if they get good, that arena can be a real weapon for them. It's just a matter of getting good. And the Chris Beard thing, like I actually thought they had the right guy in Chris Beard, and it just turns out, from a personal standpoint, he wasn't the guy. And if it weren't Texas, they probably would have just kind of tried to sweep it under the rug and move on. But Texas is like, they've always been that way. They always want to make sure they're above reproach. And they got suckered into thinking that Rodney Terry was the answer because he went on a good little run with Chris Beard's players. And the truth is, we've seen the Rodney Terry show. He's not that good.
No,
now it's becoming more and more obvious that even with Texas players, there's a reason why he wasn't that good at UTEP. There's a reason why he wasn't all that good at Fresno. It's just he's limited.
One thing I want to point out real quick, and the thing is, it never works to me when you take a guy who hasn't been successful as a head coach before. He has a good run after something what happened to Chris Beard, which I still think Chris Beard was the right guy. And you know what? And Chris Del Conte, I think, is a great AD, but he is so fucking image conscious that was. I mean, and that he's. I mean, the alumni. I mean, not the alumni. The big money guys are the ones who are influencing him. So I'm not blaming anybody for that, other than I think it was disappointing. But that guy never works out long term. We've seen it 1,000 times, and it's they're going to have to find somebody else. And I do want to point out real quick that for tomorrow's podcast, it's twitch.tv/wrinkledmoney. Jerry just posted it on the Twitch. So guys, save it, like it, and you'll know what you're doing. You'll get on there, and it's going to be badass. All right, man.
I'm excited for you guys.
Man, it's going to be fun. And like I said, I can't wait to get you on there with us, because all the stuff that you and I used to do, here's the beauty of it, right? We don't have anybody. Well, we never had anybody looking over our shoulder back when they trusted us and we had the #1 show in the city. We do whatever we wanted. And then once they started kind of messing with it, not so good. This is going to be just, we have no boss.
Nice.
We have no fucking filters. It's just going to be us and doing what we want to do. And I hope the people will love it. So anyway, there's my man Don in the house. Chris from Sam Houston in the house. B. Hannon. All right, so man, we got to get some football. I know we've gone on too long about this, but this is what happens, and I've said this to 1,000 people. Oh, did Rogelio just bring me a shot? Is that really a good
idea? Boy, is he trusted?
Oh yeah, he's trusted. Yeah.
Okay.
I told you I'm probably down to 6.
Okay, just keep your circle tight, Freddie.
And 4 of them real well. So
okay. So if I brought you a shot, you'd be okay with it?
Oh God, yeah.
All right.
You're still in the circle of trust. You
okay.
Always will be. Because you're one of the few people that could just totally fuck with me. And I would
never do that though, obviously.
Oh really? Yeah.
No, never.
Yeah. How about when I brought that chick to Vegas and all the shit you were saying to her about me?
Listen.
I was laughing my ass off. I loved it. Anyway, fuck. Let's get to some football, man. Russell Wilson dead. We got all this shit happening. What are your thoughts on the whole landscape right now? What are you looking at?
I think that Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins, those two decisions are going to drive the offseason, really, because those are the two quarterbacks that are out there and available that can probably take a bad team to good and can maybe make a good team a contender. I think Cousins is certainly a notch ahead of Russell Wilson. And I don't know if Russell Wilson's ever going to be the kind of guy that you can say, oh, this guy can win a Super Bowl again, but he's a lot closer than most of these other guys. So it teams that are close and don't feel like a rookie quarterback's going to get them there. So let's say Minnesota misses out on re-signing Kirk Cousins. I think that Russell Wilson's a great fallback for them because Russell Wilson's going to make them competitive. If you add a rookie into that roster that feels like it's pretty close, I don't think they get any better because you don't want to waste a good roster with a quarterback that's having to grow into himself. And I think Russell Wilson, if he's got anything left, you gotta put him in the best scenario possible and hope for it. But you can make an argument that they tried that 2 years ago and it didn't work.
Yeah, everything I hear is Kirk Cousins to Atlanta, which I think would be a good fit because that's an easy division, and I think that's a team that with a Kirk Cousins could win that division.
Kirk Cousins is instantly the best quarterback in that division.
Right.
And it's like not even close.
And so the other thing is, the thing about Russell Wilson, though, that is an advantage over signing a Kirk Cousins, you're going to have to pay a whole shit ton of money.
Yep.
Russell Wilson, you will not. And that's the one advantage. Now, I think I don't know if Kirk's a better player after the injury.
That's the other question, yeah.
We don't know how he's going to come back. But yeah, the one thing about Russell Wilson, no, even though he hasn't been great, I mean, if you look at his stats from last year, they weren't bad. The year before, he was a disaster. Last year in Seattle, but you're not having to pay him anything. And if it doesn't work out, that's an easy kick him in the ass, right?
Because Russ is trying to reestablish himself. He's trying to say, hey, I don't think I'm done. I can still do this. And those are the kind of guys who will say, yeah, I'll sign, like almost like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield signed a prove-it deal, and he proved it. And if I'm Russell Wilson, that's exactly what I'm looking at, is what Baker Mayfield just did, which means if I'm Baker Mayfield or if I'm Russell Wilson, I want to get into a position where I think I'm setting myself up to have a good season. That means I don't want to go play for the Giants,
right.
Where I basically know showing up that I'm at least the third best team in that conference or in that division. I want to get to a Minnesota. I want to get to a team where I feel like I can compete immediately, because let's face it, even going to Denver, the thought was they certainly were behind Kansas City and probably behind the Chargers. That ended up not being the case,
right?
At least last year. But you want to get someplace where you've got a chance to win. You got a chance to succeed. I mean, if I'm Russell Wilson, I'm on the phone with Atlanta. Rihanna's from Atlanta. I'm trying to get myself there. Rihanna.
Ciara.
Russell Wilson's wife. Russell Wilson's wife is from Atlanta. And if he can get there, then that's a bonus for her, I'm sure. But that's a place where you can win that division. Go there and try and win that division. The worst thing you want to do is go to the Raiders or the Patriots. God forbid you go to the Patriots and you show up and you're still the fourth best quarterback in that division when you show up. That's not the answer for Russell Wilson, right. Certainly.
All right, so I'm going to show this shirt real quick that my man Vu, who owns the place, just brought me. We're at the Phoenix on Westheimer. So come on by. Rogelio in the house. BC and Houston in the house. I'm in the house. Vu's in the house. I mean, it is his house. So, but yeah, anyway, come on by. All right, so a couple things, and I want to get to, and, we talk about, somebody's asked about Denver's quarterback. I would see Denver, oh, come on, man, no more shots. Oh, come on, no more shots.
After this one.
I don't want to have to be carried out, I did not take an edible today, so there is no fentanyl in my system.
Just drink water. Drink some water in between shots.
I got water. That's what I'm drinking is water.
Don't yell at me, Fred. I'm just trying to help you.
No, I'm not yelling. I'm sorry, sir. Did I yell? See, you see what this is? Water.
Okay. Listen, I'm just saying you got to drink it.
All right, man. I'm going to just be all chill. But no, the thing I want to talk about Denver's quarterback, I think the smartest thing in the world, Denver to stay where they are in the draft, take Penix or Bo Nix. Working with Sean Payton, those guys will be effective immediately, in my opinion. I'm just curious.
I don't disagree. I don't know if I want to use a first-round pick if I'm Denver on a quarterback, because you've got that Jarrett Stidham that it seems like he's at least got some untapped potential. I'd like to see more of what he's got.
Right.
But if you can get a quarterback that's like a project in the second round, I think that's awesome. But if you don't take one of the top guys, I'm with you. Look at Bo Nix. Look at Michael Penix Jr., a guy you could maybe get in the second round. And if you want to get a guy like a Jimmy Garoppolo or a Sam Darnold or something like that to just get you through a season, try it.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Because I don't think you want to draft Michael Penix and say, hey, you're starting this year, or Bo Nix and say you're starting this year, even though those dudes are experienced college players. But, yeah, I think that trying to find a gym while having sort of a transition year is a good idea, because a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, you can pay him on a one-year deal. You can pay Sam Darnold on a one-year deal and just see if you've got something.
All right, Don asked us earlier about Saquon to the Texans, and I want to get to the Texans a little bit because there's a lot of steam about that. I'm not a fan. I don't know if you're a fan, but we've talked about this a lot. I prefer drafting guys in the second, third round and just stockpile running backs, and one of them becomes Dalvin Cook or one of them becomes Derrick Henry. But I'm not a big fan of let's go out and sign a guy like this. But I'm seeing a lot of steam about it. What do you think?
I've you know me, Fred. I'm not paying premium for a running back ever, really. So I'm with you. I think you can find someone in the draft, and that's why the Texans were stockpiling these draft picks, right? To rebuild their team. Don't go rushing into a piece right now when you've got this luxury that not a lot of teams have. You have an elite level quarterback that you're paying nothing to.
Right.
That means you want to build up the positions around him that are hard to pay later. That means I don't know what the long-term discussions are with guys like Tunsil, but you want to lock up your tackles, you want to lock up pass rushers, you want to lock up receivers, and you want to lock up secondary guys. And those are the guys who are the hardest to get once you're paying a quarterback big money, because those are the expensive positions. You can find a cheap running back that's good. You don't have to overpay a running back. It's really hard to find great pass rushers that you're paying nothing to. So pay the great pass rushers, pay the great tackles, pay the great corners. Just don't pay running back. It's like paying, like in 2024, you don't pay running backs, you don't pay centers, you don't pay middle linebackers because you don't have to. So
Right.
it doesn't make sense. Even if you're like, man, but this one's really good, you can find one that's also pretty damn good. It doesn't make sense to pay a guy like that, to me.
Well, and that's the thing. I think, and they've got a ton of cap room, and there's some great free agents on defense. They don't need much on that side of the ball to go from really good to elite, right? So get me a stud corner across from Derek Stingley. Get me another outside pass rusher. Maybe you keep Grenard. Maybe you upgrade there. And you know, and I think the other thing, I think linebacker wise, I think they're in a pretty good spot. I think they've got guys who are developing and getting better each year. But get me a beast in the middle that will eat souls. Get me somebody who's, you know, not as fat as Vince Wilfork, but like somebody like that who can really dominate the middle. And I think this defense goes to top 5 in the league if he stays healthy, right?
Yeah, I think that's obviously. I think you need that. Like, my question is now, what's Saquon Barkley? What do we think the going rate is for someone like him?
He's probably going to be $12 million a year. I'm not paying a running back that.
Listen, I know that he's a sexier name. I would much rather pay. I'd much rather pay Tony Pollard, who I think you can probably get for, you know, what, $8 million a year.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah.
I know, like I said, Saquon's a sexier name and probably has more upside. And I don't know why in my head I picture Saquon being old, but I guess he's still like in his mid-20s, which I'm in running back years is kind of old. But yeah, I just think there's better options to spend that kind of money on when you could get something that's almost close to it. And you know what? Even I'm not trying to throw shade at the move the Texans made, but what they signed Dalton Schultz for, $12 million a year.
Yeah, that seems a little high to me. I would have liked to. I mean, that's a guy who, if I get him for $8 million a year, I'm pretty happy.
Exactly. But it seems like they maybe paid a little bit over at tight end, which again is a position that now you don't have to pay as much. And you're seeing these teams. Lance Zierlein came on my podcast and we talked about this. The reason why you like this Brock Bowers, who's looked at as like an all-time great tight end in college, the reason why he's going to go outside the top 10 is because the value on that position that you get when you franchise that guy or you put that 5th-year option on that guy, because the value of a tight end isn't as high as a wide receiver, you're just wasting money. Like
Right.
you could have that a more important position locked up. So it's just not looked at as a premium position, even though on the field we talk a lot about them and they are premium guys. It's just you don't pay them like premium guys. You have to find that diamond in the rough.
Well, and that goes back to the draft, and that's why you stockpile picks, right? And they have done a good job in the draft. And I think this kid, even the Scruggs kid that they drafted, who was hurt a lot this year, is going to be a really good interior offensive lineman for him for a long time. And when you do that, and you're not having to go out and spend a bunch of money to sign a big time center or a big time guard.
Yep.
It makes your team better. I think if I were GM, and I'm disappointed that Mike Evans re-signed with the Bucks, because I think a guy like that I would spend money on.
Sure, that would have been nice.
Get me a guy that I could put with Nico, and then Hank. Hopefully, you've got Tank healthy again. But I would love a number one receiver for CJ to throw the ball to, because he made Collins a number one. But Mike Evans is a real number one.
Sure.
So if you could get that, and obviously I would just draft 2 running backs, 2nd and 3rd round. And there's so many good ones out there.
There's not a running back that's going to go in round 1.
I know.
So if you take a running back in round 3, you might be taking like the 4th best running back on the board. That's awesome.
Yeah, give me the kid from Texas in the 3rd round.
Think about when the Texans have had real success with running. Who's the best running back the Texans have ever had?
A
guy they found.
Free agent.
They found on the streets. Like, why not? Why not just try and find that gem? And I think they can. I really do. I think especially, this coach, this offense, Slowick is like he's the guy that I trust to go find a guy who will fit his scheme. Again, if you can find a guy like that you get on the cheap versus paying $12 million a year, I think it's just a no-brainer. This is where you've got to trust the guys you've got. This Slowick comes from a tree of guys who have done nothing but just find running backs and make them work.
Right.
Why not let him?
Look at Mostert. Jesus Christ.
That's what they do. Let them make it work. Like I trust them, so it doesn't make sense to overspend, in my opinion.
No, and I think that if they do it right, and I think they will. I actually have faith, not so much in the owner, but since D'Amico's kind of become the face of the franchise, I really trust what they're doing, and I think he's had a good influence on Nick Caserio as well. But they have money to spend. And if it's me, and again, I don't pretend to be the greatest GM in the league. Maybe the 4th best, maybe 3rd. But no, I'm spending money to I want to go get a stud corner opposite of Stingley and see what teams can do against that deep. Because they threw away from Stingley all year. And, it's funny because everybody was like, oh, Sauce Gardner, much better. Man, if you watched Stingley last year, they threw away from him because it was always going to be a problem. If you
if you think Sauce Gardner's better, okay, cool, he's better.
I don't have a problem.
But it ain't by much. It ain't by much, man. So I'm looking at this list of running backs. Like, if you want a big running back, you get Braylon Allen in probably the 3rd round. You could probably get Blake Corum in the 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah, exactly.
Ray Davis from Kentucky, you can probably get in round 4 or 5. It's
Ray Davis is going to be a good NFL player.
There's good running backs. You don't have to spend a high pick, and you don't have to spend a shit ton in free agency for sure.
No, and that's why I was kind of hoping the Texans were in on the whole Jadarius Sneed thing. Like, I'd give up a 2nd round pick for that guy.
Yes.
And pay him, and then put those 2 out there. And you've already got Jalen Petrie, who's developing into a really good safety. Just get me an average safety next to him. And like I said, I think linebacker-wise they're going to be fine. Get me a beefy guy in the middle, spend your money there, and then go draft running backs and maybe another wide receiver. Although I'm not, throwing out the idea that Mechie might be pretty good this year. And we're finally, he was injured when he left Alabama, so that was a year. Then he had the leukemia, and he played a little bit last year. But at some point, that guy might turn into that guy for you.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think you're going to be able to find guys. I'm seeing a lot of people, and I still have a lot of Texan stuff come up on my timeline. A lot of people who are like, this is what they need to do. This is what they need to do. My best advice is right now, and trust me, I mean, Fred, we worked together for a long time. I don't know if you ever heard me say this. Trust the management of this team. Like, let's have a little faith in these guys right now. This is like the first time that I can remember that they've earned a little bit of faith. And I just let them do what they do. Don't panic when they first do it. I still remember people talking about J.J. Watt like the Texans blew some draft pick on J.J. Watt.
Oh, remember that story from, what was it, whatever, Paper City about Texans blow it by drafting Pizza Boy?
Yep.
Remember that?
Yeah. So, like, to me, this version of the Texans have earned the benefit of the doubt. So whatever pick they make, I mean, unless it's just totally idiotic, I'm going to give them some grace here and say, yeah, maybe they made a good call here. I'm going to trust what they're doing right now, because I really think they've got a plan. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like they deserve to be deserve a little bit of trust.
No, and I'm the same way. And you know me, I've been very, very skeptical, especially during the Cal McNair years and the Jack Easterby, one fish, two fish, whatever. Red fish, blue fish. By the way, welcome in, Alan and Poor Marine. The reality is, I have not trusted this franchise. I don't trust Nick Caserio, but I trust D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah.
And I think he has. I mean, I don't think Nick's bad.
I'm starting to come around a little on Nick. So I don't know. I'm getting there.
Word salad, Nick. Yeah. But he seems to be working really well with D'Amico, and that's how things work, right? And so I actually have a lot of faith in him right now, which I have not said in years, and neither of you. But I do trust, other than running back, because I don't feel like they value running backs, because they could have drafted a couple of guys last year. And, you and I watch a lot of college football. Oh, my God, there's so many good backs out there that could be amazing. But yeah, I actually trust these guys. And, I mean, I think they wanted C.J. Stroud all along, and I've kind of been told that. Like, if they'd had the number one pick, it would have been C.J. Stroud.
I hear that too. I'm not sure I believe it, but it doesn't matter. Like it's real easy to say, but I'll take them at their word for it. But I don't really care. I think that
I was actually told that before they won that last game.
Okay.
That C.J. was their guy. Over Bryce Young, which and I think Bryce Young in the Texans situation would have been a much better quarterback. But, he
wouldn't have been C.J. Stroud.
But he wouldn't have been C.J. Stroud. And, you knew what my concerns were with him. And, but it was funny, and I think we've talked about this. It was like week 3 or whatever. And, I was always worried about him being a first read guy, because his first read's always open 10 yards, right?
Yeah.
And it was so funny because and this was a nothing play. And it was in the game they lost to the Colts. And I'll never forget this. He looked at his first read, and half a second later he's at his second read, and half a second later is his third read. Blitz is coming, and then he just drops it into the flat. He went through 4 reads in 2 seconds, and I'm like, and they only got like 6 yards, right? It wasn't a big play, but I'm like, that's when I'm like, oh shit, I think this kid gets it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Listen, it's the first time in a long time that I've got faith that the Texans are actually pointed in the right direction, and actually they've got something cooking,
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. All right, man, we are way over as usual. I don't really give a shit when AJ's here. I could talk to AJ all day, and I appreciate his time. And hey, brother, I'm going to give you a call this week because we've got a couple things we can talk about. But
yes, sir.
I appreciate you so much, and I'll just say this because I've been honest about cutting a lot of motherfuckers out of my life. This guy will never be cut out of my life. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. I love him to death. I love his family. Man. And it's been it's been a shitty year. I appreciate still having you in my life, brother.
Always, my man, always.
All right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll just say take care and hit me up this week or next week when you get a chance.
Yeah, I definitely will. And you and I are going to wind up heads up at a poker table at one point, and you're the only person I'll shop with. So, all right, brother.
Can't wait.
Love you, man. Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right. So, guys, tune in tomorrow to the new podcast, Wrinkled Money. It's twitch.tv/Wrinkled Money. It'll be me and Jerry Bow. And guys, it's going to be fun. If you enjoyed this, you'll enjoy that. Okay. And otherwise, hey, man, I want to thank every single person who's tuned in. I have nothing but love for all you guys. And man, I appreciate you so much. You know, it's funny, especially now, you know, when things are not going well in life, you really appreciate the good things that are. You guys are the good things, man. So check in with me and Jerry tomorrow. Twitch.tv, Wrinkled Money. We're going to have some good stuff. I love all you guys. Thank all of you for tuning in. Please check us out tomorrow. We got all kinds of cool stuff for you. Until then, stay sportsy, Gulf Coast badasses.